The Sinking City is an action-adventure investigation game and is available to play on PC, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. Set in a Lovecraft-inspired world, there's a sort of horror element here as you explore this grungy city filled with monsters while you investigate murder, kidnappings, and some crazy conspiracies. I'd personally never heard of this game until I started watching this random playthrough on YouTube and stopped after probably like an hour because I just knew I had to play this one. You play as a private investigator called Charles Reed, who travels to this location as he's been experiencing some really weird visions ever since he survived a sinking ship accident, and he's come to investigate the place from his visions. Upon arrival, you immediately get dragged into other people's problems, but as you're a newcomer in a not-so-nice kind of city, you'll need to help out those around you in order to get information and clues to satisfy your own questions. Honestly, the story for this game is really wild. There's just so many twists and turns, as well as there being several other mysteries you'll need to solve, each with their own crazy stories. It's very much an interesting story here, and it kept me hooked right until the very end. The Sinking City takes place in a city devastated by flooding, and seriously, it is one of the coolest looking cities I've seen in a game. You first arrive at a port where you'll see half-rotten sharks and squid, and the place just looks very desolate. Your very first quest that your character is forced into is interesting from the get-go, as the son of a prominent figure has gone missing, and they've blocked off the port so that you can't actually leave until you solve it. Here you'll learn a bit about your character, namely your special abilities that come with your visions that allow you to be a really good detective. You have the ability to kind of see back in time to events once you've gathered key evidence, as well as track these kind of essence things to find crucial items and places. So you're basically this total kick-ass detective who puts everybody else to shame. So obviously investigating is a massive part of this game. You'll need to search for clues and evidence as part of basically every single quest, and key pieces will need to be found to progress the story. Once you find these, you'll need to match together clues to piece together information, sometimes needing to make a decision on what you want to do, and then go to your next location. The Sinking City is not a game for people who like to be told exactly where to go and what to do. This is probably the top game I've played so far that just does not handhold in any matter, nor is there an option in the menu to enable this. You really do need to pay close attention to what you're told here. So if you're searching for a person and someone mentions they've been arrested once or maybe they were famous, you'd need that information to head to the relevant place such as a police station or maybe a newspaper to search for them in the archives. For the most part, it's pretty obvious, but it definitely takes some getting used to as you start playing this game. Of course, you also have like diary entries and quest tracking to find that information when you need it as well. Only main locations are placed on your map here, so if you are looking for a hideout, it'll tell you where it is, and you need to find out exactly where the location is to place a marker on the map. Again, it's not insanely difficult. It will tell you the section of the city and what street, but if you like to be told exactly where to go and what to do, then this just is not for you. You'll need to make quite a few tough decisions in this game, generally just who to side with or if someone should be punished for their crime. I will note though that while these decisions seem pretty hefty at the time that you're making them, they never really make that big of an impact to your game, if at all. The game kind of works in a way that both decisions might lead you to the same kind of outcome one way or another, so near the end of the game I didn't tend to take them very seriously. Although based on some decisions you will see minor impacts, such as some people might get killed over it later and such, but they're not main characters or anything. This city also has its own lore. It's got prejudices between people, a very strong history. It's quite interesting to uncover this as you progress. As the city is half flooded as well, as you make your way around, you'll need to travel by both foot and by boat to reach your destinations. And the city is absolutely massive too, but there are travel points located pretty much everywhere that you can use to fast travel with. Not only do you get to explore up above, but also down below in the depths as your investigation leads you deep in the sea to some underwater caves. It's a very cool experience, especially as you need to fight off like giant squid and eels as you walk underwater. And being afraid of like the deep dark ocean myself, I just found it really exciting to do it. The city is filled with people, of course, usually vomiting up their guts or yelling at someone. It's obviously not a great place to live. You'll also see differences in the architecture and the people as you visit different areas. So more poorer areas will have crime being committed, while the richer areas are a little bit nicer. And while the city looks good, I never felt the urge to explore it, as basically every building is a no entry except where you need access for a quest, and you'll only ever really find just basic loot for crafting items in the buildings that do have access. As you explore this city, you'll begin to come across these really strange creatures. While it's kind of unknown, these creatures just kind of turned up after the city was flooded, and they occupy some blocked off sections of the city as well as hiding in some buildings. You'll need to fight these guys off quite often, along with a few disagreeable people, depending on what you're doing. And the combat in this game is tough. You can easily die here from just one or two well-placed attacks, and I found myself dying quite often here until I really got the hang of the combat. You'll need to craft health packs and ammo to keep you going, and at the start I was in a few situations where I didn't have health nor ammo, and I kinda just had to keep trying and trying with hand-to-hand combat until I got lucky. So yeah, it's a bit brutal. It does get easier as you play, as you get better weapons such as a shotgun, and you get way more stuff to craft with so you can craft more ammo, but until you get to that point it can get a little bit frustrating. As you go around this city investigating and talking to various people, you do get quite a few dialogue options to choose from, some of which will allow you to simply learn more about the city and its residents if you so wish. For example, the librarian here has her mouth sewn shut and you get the option to ask her about it, or if you notice someone has died in a quest, you can ask what happened, and so on. I actually really love this because there's so many weird and different things happening in this city. I was just so curious all the time, and the fact that I got to ask people those uncomfortable questions and get the gossip was awesome. Also, jumping back to your investigative superpowers, the downside to these is that they can actually make you go a little bit crazy, and it is so freaking awesome. So if you don't keep an eye on your sanity, you end up getting these visions of yourself hanging or like crazy people threatening you with guns or monsters, and it looks real as well. It genuinely scared the crap out of me, and it's just a really cool part of the game. The downside to this in real life though is that as your sanity drops, the vision kind of blurs to your character, and this gave me such bad motion sickness. I actually could only play for really short periods during my first few hours until I kind of got used to it. So if you're easily affected by this kind of thing, just watch out for that. My understanding of this game is that it was made by the same people who developed the Sherlock Holmes games, which just makes heaps of sense because those games also gave me motion sickness. But anyway, my point is that it does very much feel like that kind of game. It's strongly focused on collecting evidence in various locations, putting together these clues and then finding your next location, all the while uncovering quite the interesting story. I think people who love investigative kind of gameplay will absolutely 100% love this game. But if that's not really your thing, then there's not much else to this game, so I kind of don't recommend it. Honestly, I loved it. The setting was so interesting. The story has like a supernatural theme to it while also having things like murder and kidnapping, so real life kind of stuff that just made it so interesting. And it was a whole new world to explore with an interesting history and prejudices and all this stuff to learn. I just thought it was a really, really interesting game to play. Also, just to say that as I started playing this game, I think they announced that a second one was coming out, which is awesome. So I'm very much looking forward to playing that one. Please let me know if you've played this and what you think, or if you're thinking about playing it. Yeah, I'm just really interested to know what people think of this game. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!